Hello, my name is Kirioth, and today we are going to have a little look at the latest Battle Sister bulletin, which is going over the currently work-in-progress Repentias. I thought before we started we would have a look at the older Repentias, so you can actually get a proper look at the older style, so we've got something to directly compare them to, as opposed to just going straight into the other ones, because for the most part, the Sisters of Battle redesign, relaunch of that range has remained fairly true to the older style. The sculpts are obviously looking a lot more fresh, they're looking a lot newer, they're looking more detailed, but they are very much sticking to the older style of the Sisters of Battle, which I quite like. The newer Repentia stuff, however, looks to be taking them in a slightly different direction in a way, which, to be honest, I'm quite liking. So, as you can see, the current Repentia squad, I don't think it's aged too badly, in fairness. It's a little rough around the edges, it's obviously not quite as smooth or well detailed as the newer stuff that Games Workshop has been putting out, but then again, these are metal miniatures, they are getting on quite a bit in terms of design, in terms of age, but they don't look bad. There is an element to them whereby there's a more kind of overtly, how to phrase it, like skimpy nature to the clothes than, say, the rest of the Sisters of Battle. Of course, when a Repentia becomes Repentia, it's because they've screwed up massively. They've done something bad, they've done something intolerable by the tenets of the Sisters of Battle, and so they are giving a massive two-handed chainsword, their armour is taken away, and they're told to essentially either fight until you are redeemed, or die killing. That is the state of their existence from that point onward. And these ones do reflect that, in fairness. But there is a definite style to them that doesn't 100% match the rest of the Sisters of Battle. However, we now have the work-in-progress ones, and to be honest, I'm actually finding myself preferring these. Now, straight away, they are more covered up. I mean, this first one is unmistakably more covered up. The only thing I'm not sure about on a couple of these is the brand in the forehead. It feels a little too deep. Now, that's something that could well be changed by the time these are actually produced, by the time we see the plastic. They're a little too deep for my liking at the moment, and it's not even a case of I don't like the idea of it. I actually do quite like the idea of it. It's just, I'm not a doctor. I don't exactly know how thick the skin is on the forehead, but I do know that it's not. I don't think it's quite that thick. Is it? Unless we're seeing actual bone underneath. There's just something about it that is a bit too pronounced for me. But the rest of it, I really like. I mean, for a start, there is a level of detail on these ones that we don't get on the old ones. You can see the ports in the skin where the power armor is plugged in. Now, they don't have a black carapace the same as the Astartes, of course they don't, but they still have the ports in their body to interface with the armour to allow it to augment their strength. And so that kind of little detail I already really like. It provides an extra, almost like an extra element of story to the miniature that you don't get from the older squad. The poses, for the most part, I also really like. They are properly fluid and dynamic. Like that looks more convincing in terms of someone running than the older stuff. I mean, if we just do a quick comparison, those are for the most part quite static poses. They're quite rigid. They look like they're made for display, or as opposed to actually being in the middle of a fight. Compare pretty much all of those models with that pose, and I have to say I much prefer that pose by quite a long way. Yeah, there's something about it that just looks like it's in action, which is exactly the kind of pose I want to see from the Repentia, because of the nature of them. They are driven forward into battle face first with these colossal, ridiculous chainswords, and that's what they live for, the chance for redemption through battle. It makes far more sense to have this kind of look to them. Okay, so there's a few more down the bottom here. I'm not a huge fan of the hoods. I actually quite like the hoods on the older ones more, to be honest with you, but that's just a personal preference thing. I just, there's something about them that just feels a little more interesting. I don't know why, and to be honest, it could well be that we see one of these painted up and it's like, oh no, actually no, that is great, that is fine, I actually like that after all. But for now, I'm a little bit concerned about the thickness of the purity seals, in a way. But again, these are work in progress. They could well be slimmed down. They look a little bit chunky right now, but they may not necessarily be chunky at the time. There's a nice mix as well of ones that have like shorter sleeves or shorter legs on the trousers, and ones that have just a bit more covering. It makes them look a bit more unique. Each one looks more like its own character than a kind of copy-paste job. Of course, there are duplicates in the current Repentia squad. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some sort of duplicate in this lot, but the ones that have shown off so far, I do like the variation in the different models. Again, just that one thing really stands out to me. Actually seeing the ports for the armour does make a huge difference as to giving them, I don't know, it just gives them almost like a legitimacy that the other ones don't have. You can clearly see where they've come from. It's a nice touch. It's a very nice touch. There's a few more down here. Now, it looks like, actually, these two have got, if you look at the legs specifically, they have the same legs but different torsos, which could well mean that although we're not going to get a full range of like customizability or posability from these, like I do think at this point the Sisters of Battle stuff is going to be, for the most part, pretty monopose, just to maintain the level of detail. I mean, that's a video in and of itself that we'll do at some point, talking about essentially the increase in detail and the decrease in being able to pose the models, and whether it's a trade-off that's worth having or not. But just the fact that the torso is different, like the upper half of these two models is different, even though they use the same legs, I would suggest that actually in this case especially, it really does provide a different... It provides like a different personality. It's that thing of trying to make things look, thematically similar and aesthetically pretty much the same, but also give all of them their own look at the same time. It's not an easy thing to do, and to be honest, it looks like they're nailing it pretty damn well. Again, I'm not sure about that right there, the brand in the forehead. It's just the depth of it, that's all it is. I think if it could be raised slightly so it's just a bit lighter, so it's not quite as stark, that would be good. It just doesn't quite feel... I'm loath to use the word realistic, but it just doesn't have that for me. But to be honest, of all the things on this model, that's like the biggest complaint I have, and it's not really that big a complaint, to be totally honest. I like pretty much everything else about these. I will say the dagger pin things rammed through the leg is hardcore as hell, and is actually making my leg get sympathy pains. Why would you do that? Jesus. Trying to run with those in would not be fun. I mean, I get the whole point of being Repentia is that it's not fun, but still, that head I really like. I really like that. It's obviously totally mad. It's covering your eyes up in order to go into battle. I mean, why would you do it? I don't know. I don't really care. It looks fantastic. Although, looking at that head... Alright, bear with me here. There is clearly a cybernetic arm going on there. That's nice. Again, I like that as a detail. Having some sort of cybernetic replacement suggests kind of being of enough worth, or at least being in enough fights that you've lost a bit of yourself in one of them. Actually having one of those on Repentia, I quite like that idea. It sort of looks like, because it's the same legs as the previous one, you've obviously got the weird pin dagger things going through the top of the leg there. The way the skin is stretched on the cheek, have they got one of those rammed through their face? Because, can you see what I mean? Can you see it? Just there where the hand is caressing slowly. Provided I've got the cursor turned on. I think I have. If not, I'll just put a little red circle around it so you can see it. it very much does look like this lass has got one of those jammed into her head, like under the skin, between the skull and the face, and then under the blindfold thing, which is mad. What the hell is that a detail? Oh, oh god. Still like it, but Jesus, that's, again, a bit full on. But then, the Repentia should be a bit full on. I feel like these are doing a good job of showing just how, like, metal and over the top, just the idea of the Repentia are to begin with. Again, I think they're pretty much nailing it with the Sisters of Battle so far. I think they really are. They're doing such a good job. And these are work in progress, but to be honest, it feels like a damn strong start. I'd be interested to see what they change before we see the final versions of these, because there's not a huge amount on these that I think I would want them to change. I like the shift from kind of the strange ritual flowing gear that's all torn and is barely being held on. I like the change from that to what kind of looks like just training gear, to be honest. It doesn't look like it doesn't look like tight fitting enough to be the kind of body glove thing that goes under power armor. It more looks like, essentially, like just downtime, relaxing, or just training gear. As though, they've had the armor taken off, they've been given one set of clothes and told, there you go, that's what you get, also take this chainsword, and that's your lot. Like, that's all you have. It feels more raw in a way. It feels less pre-planned. It's as though just before battle it's been a case of take that off, take this, you fucked up, off you go. Which I think I prefer that feel. I'm honestly pretty happy with the way that they're handling these. So far, the redesign I think has been really well handled, and the more I see of these, the more I just want them, and the less I'm too bothered about the idea of like massively customizing them, because they are retaining that original Sisters of Battle feel, but just giving them all the detail and all of the updating that they deserve, basically. Yeah, I like these. I like these a lot. Let me know what you think of these new Repentia in the comments down below. Is there anything about them that particularly stands out as being great? Is there anything that you would change personally? What do you reckon of like the brands in the forehead? I'd be interested to know what you think about that, whether that's something that you would want to see change a little bit. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video, subscribe, all that shit. Click it if you like, don't click it if you don't want to. If you want to grab some 40k stuff and you're in Europe, then use the affiliate link down below if you'd like. You basically save a bunch of money on the 40k stuff, and I get something to be sending you that way. It's a nice way to support the channel, because let's face it, you are going to spend more than your monthly budget on plastic crack anyway, so why not? Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Toodaloo.